Let me tell you, some weird stuff happens in this story. You may find some of it hard to swallow. First thing though, you gotta tell me something. 'Cause for this story to make sense, for it to mean anything, you have to believe in something very important. You have to believe people can change.
In the snowy December of 1843, author Charles Dickens penned his immortal classic, A Christmas Carol, and forever linked the season with stories of togetherness, charity, and redemption through the tale of Ebenezer Scrooge and his ghostly visitors. The tale's place in popular culture has only grown since it captured the zeitgeist over 170 years ago, and since gone on to influence films, television, and a close relative of the original novella, comic books. While there have been countless Christmas stories in comic books, ranging both in tone and quality, few embody the spirit and atmosphere of Dickens' original better than the standalone Batman story, Noel. Written and penciled by the legendary artist Lee Bermejo, Noel combines elements of A Christmas Carol, as well as the Caped Crusaders' history and mythos, to synthesize something wholly its own. If I was going to adapt something like A Christmas Carol, we're talking about one of the most heavily adapted works of literature of all time, recounts Bermejo. And, you don't just want to be another one of those. You want to do something a little bit new and interesting with it, if you can. Juxtaposing the ever-evolving story of Batman with the timeless themes and motifs of A Christmas Carol, Bermejo was able to craft something both beautifully Gothic and fantastically sincere. A story of the Dark Knight's redemption that might just be a worthy successor to the tale it's based on. Within the original Christmas Carol, Dickens crafted his story around an immense cast of characters. The poor but happy Cratchit family, the mythic three ghosts, and the selfish, pitiless Ebenezer Scrooge. Fittingly, Noel transplants many of the Dark Knight's cast onto Dickens' original characters, with Batman himself taking the place of Scrooge. There have been countless comparisons between the two characters over the years.
He could give lessons to Scrooge.
But through Noel, Bermejo finally gives weight and motivation to this choice, taking elements from nearly every depiction of Batman to piece together a coherent, believable turn for the character. Batman has gone through so many iterations throughout the years, Bermejo reflects, whereas the character of Scrooge is extremely well-defined and unbending. The interesting comparison between the two for me was more how these changes Batman has undergone over the years reflect the changes Scrooge underwent in his life. Implementing everything from the lighter Silver Age to the darker works of Frank Miller, Bermejo used elements of Batman's history to inform his transformation into a Scrooge-like antagonist. Mourning the death of his partner Jason Todd, who here stands in for the ghost of Jacob Marley, Bruce Wayne has become angry and embittered, giving himself entirely to the role of Batman at the cost of his own well-being. Bermejo builds on this darkening of the character through Batman's costumes, depicting Bruce in a brighter, Adam West-inspired costume in flashbacks with Robin, and encasing him in a sharper, more armored look in the present. Batman's new vengeful streak is expertly juxtaposed with the character of Bob Cratchit, who in Noel is transformed into a poor single father-turned-bagman for Gotham's supervillains. Much like in the original tale, Cratchit's character demonstrates how cruel Bruce Wayne has become over the years, refusing to empathize with a downtrodden bagman, and even using him and his son as bait for his boss. It's this choice that begins Batman's own tale of redemption, with his own three ghosts attempting to reconnect him with his sense of humanity. The first ghost, Catwoman, evokes Batman's colorful, optimistic past, reminding him of the joyous, almost childlike glory days of Batman and Robin. While it's clear that Bruce is nostalgic for his old life, The trauma and resentment he harbors run deep, represented by a lingering cough, a sign that Bruce's guilt and grief are literally poisoning him. Catwoman's playful advances only elicit rage and scorn from the Dark Knight, and as he chases her, he's given several reminders that his joyous days have passed, or maybe never existed to begin with. The happiness he once felt with Robin at his side is replaced with anguish, compounded by Bruce's survivor's guilt.
Life isn't really that colourful, not so full of infinite possibility, he told himself. There was success and failure.
Brought lower than ever before, Batman quickly comes face to face with his second visitor, fittingly represented through Superman. While Catwoman evoked Batman's past, this visitor serves to comment on his present. In sharp contrast to the cold, colorless Dark Knight, Bermejo's Superman is larger than life and full of warmth and empathy, exposing Batman to the beauty of Gotham's many citizens going about their daily lives, not as criminals, but people. Visiting the home of Commissioner Gordon, Batman even learns that in spite of his mean streak, some of his friends still keep their faith in him, and in Gotham. But much like Scrooge before him, Batman seems resigned to his path in life. He needs a massive shift in perspective.
Then he remembered that the night wasn't over yet. There would be 3 visitors.
This major shift in the story comes through the third ghost, who confronts Scrooge with his own mortality and the weight of what he leaves behind. For Batman, this third visitor is given form through the Joker, who's not only a threat to the Dark Knight's life, but the symbol of what he could be if he continues on his lonely, detached path. A monster numb to the pain of others, and a force of chaos in Gotham. Thrown into an open grave, Batman has a fevered vision of Gotham's future. A harsh, unforgiving place, shaped in his own vengeful image.
I think as those clammy hands pushed down on Scrooge's chest, he thought about the future for the first time and realised the only legacy he would leave behind was pain. If you have the chance to change, to get it right, would you fight for it? Sometimes it takes dying to teach a fella how to live.
Through this vision and his own spiritual death, Batman is finally reborn a changed man, ready to confront his grief and save the downtrodden of Gotham from the legacy of pain and chaos he would leave behind. This transformation is bookended through Cratchit, who nearly becomes a murderer himself, only to be talked down by a kinder, more understanding Batman, who reaffirms his faith in people.
You are not a criminal. Show your son the kind of man you are. Show him what a hero is.
With the Joker defeated and Cratchit's humanity saved, a new day finally dawns on Gotham. Once cold and dark, the Batcave and its inhabitants are now bathed in soft light and warm tones, hinting that Wayne has finally cast off his grief and found peace. This goodwill ripples outward as we see Bruce Wayne offering Cratchit a job and furnishing the family's home with gifts. As the reader sees Gotham transform from a symbol of despair to one of hope, they're treated to Cratchit's final monologue.
The old man said he liked the story so much because it had a happy ending. He said happy endings are like unicorns. He told me it didn't really matter if it was true, it was what the story meant that was important. I dunno, kiddo. What do you think? What's the moral of the story?
While Noel incorporates many of Bermejo's signatures, like his ultra-detailed pencils and German expressionist-inspired shadows, The tone and content of the story mark a departure from his previous work. The idea for the project pretty much came when I finished Joker. I really enjoyed it, but it was a dark, brutal piece of work, and I kind of wanted to go in the other direction. From the beginning, the intention was to do a book that mixed a children's book aesthetic with a standard comic book. Through Barbara Ciardo's warm, inviting colors and Todd Klein's playful, boxless lettering, the heavier aspects of Bermejo's work give way to something softer, akin to oil paintings. It's this melding of Dickens' warm, hopeful themes with the grander superhero elements of Batman and his city that elevate Noel's struggle from a personal tale of redemption to a battle for the soul of Gotham. "You're never going to write that story as well as Dickens," muses Bermejo, so I knew right away I wasn't even going to try. But when I found that voice, that's when things clicked. Certain lines started to feel more comfortable. Things started to flow at that point. Noel doesn't stick fully to either of its sources, but by pulling elements from both, Bermejo, Ciardo, and Klein craft a story that's both a personal exploration of grief and a broader tale of how one man's actions can shape a city, for better and for worse. Isolated from Bermejo's darker works, Noel is a surprising but welcome ray of light. While it delivers a somber premise that we are shaped by an ever-darkening world, it also invites us to change, to help our peers, and make a vision of a brighter tomorrow, something that we can all believe in. Hi everyone, thanks for watching my video on Batman Noel. I've had a great year making videos for you all, and I've got plenty planned for 2021. So if you'd like to see more, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be taking a little time off before getting back, so until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, look out for your fellow geeks, and have a happy holiday.